Montgomery Preservation Incorporated, MPI, is an all-volunteer organization formed in 1984 to preserve, protect, and promote our Montgomery County architectural heritage and historic landscapes for future generations. Volunteers with MPI work in the field, teach classes, draft legislation, and represent preservation interests before county boards. MPI sponsors educational events and celebrates preservation projects and the people who make them happen. For 32 years, MPI has sponsored the County Preservation Awards. These are unusual times, and MPI's usual in-person awards ceremony had to be canceled this past spring. We hope you will enjoy the movie that has been made in its stead. We congratulate all the 2019 award winners and are glad of this opportunity to show off their projects to all who see the movie. But first, a word from our president, Eileen McGuckian.
Hello, I am Eileen McGuckian, president of Montgomery Preservation. We're proud of the history and architecture we have here in Montgomery County, and for 30 years, MPI has been working to protect and preserve historic places. I'm here at the Silver Spring Railroad Station, which 20 years ago was slated for demolition. MPI stepped up to buy and to restore the station. Come on inside and take a look. Today, this building looks as it did when it opened in 1945. You can see all the original features around here, and it was listed in the National Register of Historic Places and designated on the Montgomery County Master Plan for Historic Preservation. This was Silver Springs train station until the transportation hub opened a little farther north of here in 2003. In normal times, the station is open on the first Saturday of every month and available for rental for parties and for meetings. And in a few years, this is going to be the favorite stop on the hiker-biker trail that comes through here. MPI is an umbrella group with local preservation partners. Recently, we organized volunteers to compile the Montgomery County Cemetery Inventory. And this past spring, we leapt into virtual programs with a series of genealogical programs and talks. We look forward to safer times and more programming here and elsewhere for everyone. Today, MPI honors individuals and groups who made significant contributions to local historic places in 2019. Congratulations to them all.
MPI presents a 2019 award for rehabilitation of an historic house to Tim and Julie Hussman for Roslyn Farmhouse in Brinklow. Architect Mish Bose and Emmett Van Riper and contractor Micah Stenfors accomplished the work. The award is presented by Council Member Will Jawando.
This is Council Member Will Jawando. It's my pleasure to be with you virtually today to present the Roslyn Farmhouse Award. Sorry we can't have these in person, but wanted to honor some great work that's been done in preservation here in Montgomery County. As preservationists are only all too aware, building materials come from the earth and are ultimately designed and destined to return to it. Wood rots, bricks and mortar crumble, stone erodes, iron rusts, and glass shatters. At Roslyn Farmhouse, until Jim and Julie Hussman intervened, termites and water damage were speeding up that process. The Hussmans saved this 19th century house and returned it to its rightful place as the centerpiece of a thriving 21st century farm. Roslyn was built in 1844 by Henry Stabler, a descendant of an early family in the Sandy Spring area, and one of a lifelong line of Quaker scientific farmers. His house was typical of farmhouses in the area, made of local materials. Plain like his neighbors, houses were just big enough to meet the needs of the family. Simple. In other ways, Roslyn had enough quirky touches, such as its flat columns on the front porch and unusual posts and stair rails to make the Stablers stand out. When the Hussmans started, the roof was unsalvageable. A chimney had partially collapsed, and the stone foundation had severe water damage. An incompatible addition marred the house's simple form, and wood clapboards had been replaced by vinyl siding. All the historic windows had been replaced by low-quality modern windows. The Husbands and their architects and their contractor brought back Henry Stabler's solid, workmanlike tradition to show what a farmhouse would have been like in that era, in the Quaker Quarter. And they still kept the features that made it uniquely his. The Husbands replaced what was rotten or inappropriate, repaired what was failing or falling down or damaged. The family lives in their newly rehabilitated house on New Hampshire Avenue. I've seen it, it's beautiful, it's right up the road, and operates their historic Roslyn farm. Henry Stabler would be well pleased. So congratulations, thank you for your work on behalf of preserving a very important part of our Montgomery County history.
Hi, my name is Tim Husband, and on behalf of our family, I feel so honored and grateful that we've been recognized by Montgomery Preservation for the restoration of our farmhouse. Our goal with this project was to keep the character and the historic setting of our house while upgrading it so we could make it comfortable for our family to live in. Our thanks go out to Mish Bose and his talented team for helping create the vision and the drawings to execute this project. Thanks also go out to our builder, Mika Stenfors, for his help in making the vision a reality and by executing on the plans. This was definitely a team effort, and we appreciate everybody's input and help and hard work. It was a labor of love for all of us. We couldn't be more pleased with the final outcome of the project. And now the fourth generation of the Husband family are now living in a restored Roslyn farmhouse. Thank you again for this honor and recognition.
MPI presents a 2019 award for restoration and reconstruction of historic community features to Susan Van Nostrand and the Washington Grove Street Sign Volunteers. The award is presented by Council Member Hans Riemer and accepted by Susan Van Nostrand.
I'm Hans Riemer, Montgomery County Council member, and I'm so pleased to help present the award for Washington Grove Street Signs. I had the experience of history and preservation that I know you're going for. When I entered the Washington Grove community, I looked at the streets and the cottages, and I immediately felt that I had been there before. I was remembering my visits to the Methodist camp meeting site in Martha's Vineyard. I asked my friends, I said, this place feels familiar to me. It's like Oak Bluffs, Massachusetts. And I learned then that in fact, it was the same, built as the same movement at the same time, and is one of the country's best preserved. So thank you so much for that unique experience that I treasure, that I cherish. It's really what this is all about. Now I'm gonna read my script for the Street Signs Award. Washington Grove is a unique community in Montgomery County, starting as a Methodist camp meeting site in 1873. It wasn't long before streets were laid out, assembly and open space delineated, and tents evolved into attractive year-round cottages. Custom wooden signs marked boundaries and united streetscapes. Washington Grove has always protected its historic character. Citizens pursued listing in the National Register of Historic Places, established a town archives, and appointed a Citizen Historic Preservation Commission to manage change. This project is emblematic of Washington Grove. The Town Council recognized the need to update street signage, but were standardized modern signs right for Washington Grove? Many residents advocated for retaining the wooden signs because of their historic character and contribution to the town's sense of place. Resident Susan Van Nostrand presented the cost-saving idea to use a team of volunteers to upgrade old signs and reconstruct new signs where necessary. After extensive research and experimentation, Susan and a few volunteers created several restored signs and displayed them at a town event. Soon, 33 residents signed up, and work began in earnest. Signs that could be restored were, those that were too dilapidated were reconstructed. In all, 187 wooden street signs were completed by the volunteers. For their scholarship, diligence, engagement of volunteers and partners, and for charmingly beautiful results, this award is presented to Susan Van Nostrand and the Washington Grove Street Signs volunteers.
Hi, my name is Susan Van Nostrand, and on behalf of the sign makers of Washington Grove, I'd like to thank Montgomery County Historic Preservation for awarding us with a Community Choice Award. A Community Choice Award is for a small project with a big impact, and I think that describes our project perfectly. We'd also like to thank the skilled workers, Mike Shank, who routed out all the letters, Lee Partington, and the rest of the artists who put the native flora and fauna on all of the new signs, on the ones that could not be restored, and to the 35 workers who worked over a 2-year period to finish this project. We'd also like to thank the Historic Preservation Committee of Washington Grove for nominating us for this award. So if you're ever out and about looking for a beautiful place to take a walk, come take a walk in Washington Grove and look at our signs.
Michael Dwyer was Montgomery County's first historian at the Park and Planning Commission. One of Mike's tasks in the 1970s was to drive a jeep around the county to find historic sites. The resulting publication, the Locational Atlas, listed close to 900 sites and districts, which Mike described with basic research and photographs. Almost 50 years later, Mike's survey files remain the first stop when researching local sites. For 4 decades, Mike was at the forefront of every major preservation initiative: our ordinance and master plan, strategic planning for cultural park resources, the Ag Reserve, a county archaeology program, and training parks personnel to care for properties. Mike conducted research, offered advice, and wrote books, including the definitive field guide to Montgomery County Mills. He shared his encyclopedic knowledge of the county and his passion for history, and untiringly pushed for more funding for sites in our public parks. In 2000, MPI honored him with the Montgomery Prize for his lifetime of work. Mike Dwyer passed away in May 2019. In keeping with Mike's passions for archaeology, historic resources, and sharing local history with young and old, the annual Michael F. Dwyer Award is dedicated to his high standards and many accomplishments. The first Michael Dwyer Award is presented to Bob Hines for training and supervising an educated volunteer workforce for archaeology projects. It is presented by University professor and urban planner Royce Hanson.
For those of us who knew Mike, there's no question that this first Michael F. Dwyer Award would meet his hearty approval. Without him, there would have been no atlas of historic sites that has been the foundation for the work of the Commission, the Planning Board, and the county's passionate preservationists. He believed in working in the field and in digging for history, which is exemplified by his last book on the county's historic mills. For 35 years, Bob Hines has been the face of volunteers in archaeology, bringing an educated, skilled workforce to participate in projects in Montgomery County and beyond. Thus far, he counts 47 different sites, ranging from Locust Grove, the brick Magruder House near Montgomery Mall, to the Hollings River prehistoric site in Sunshine, to Dowden's Ordinary and General Braddock's camp in Clarksburg. Whether collaborating with professionals on public land or supervising students on private property, Bob researched, dug, cleaned, documented, interpreted, and discussed what archaeologists were doing and what they were finding. Always focused on teaching because he believes that students learn best by doing. Bob Hines is an historian by education, an autodidact in archaeology, but his calling is first and foremost as a teacher. He has taught the basics of archaeology to almost 900 students and many adults, 15 to 20 at a time. He engages them in finding, touching, and identifying artifacts. He encourages students to go farther, to research patterns in poverty, to research land records and interpret census data, to dig and then leave the site as they found it. Exposure to the process has been life-altering for many of Bob's students. Several have gone on to study archaeology, science, and math. During the school year, Bob sponsored the archaeology club at Richard Montgomery High School, and during summers at 2-week camps for 8th through 12th grades at Montgomery College. He's led trips and field work all over local areas. He has encouraged partnerships among neighbors, owners, funders, and educators. In Bob Hines' own words, we have an obligation to preserve the past when we can, and a greater obligation to teach our children to be the future guardians of that legacy.
Thanks, everybody. This is such a great honor to earn the Mike Dwyer Award, to be the first in that after 35 years in the field of doing history and archaeology in Montgomery County. I really loved this job all these years, but I couldn't have done it without a lot of help of adults. I'll start with Sandy Heiler, who really helped nominate me for this, and Eileen McGuckian, and then a host of other people, including Mike, who visited the site many times over the years. Dr. Jim Sorensen, who was out in the field with all my summer camps and such. My mentor from the National Park Service, Paula Zitzler, and of course, the park archaeologists, Heather Bushlag and Cassandra Michaud. And so, but most importantly, none of this could have been done without the hundreds of students over the years. Some have gone on to become professional archaeologists even. They've come out in all kinds of weather and snow and the summer heat, and they crawled out from under sun tents to try to get to the sifters. And so it has really been quite an experience for them in making the past come alive, plus many, many hours in our lab at school at Richard Montgomery, all these years watching and cataloging artifacts. It has really been a lovely 35 years making the past come alive for our students. Thank you.
We congratulate the Warren Historical Site Committee for reconstruction of Loving Charity Hall, a benevolent society lodge in Martinsburg. Thanks to the Warren Historical Site Committee, there stands today on Martinsburg Road a rare collection of 3 anchors of the historic African American community: church, school, and benevolent society lodge. Therefore, MPI presents a 2019 award to the Warren Historical Site Committee. Architect Thomas Toltevel, contractor Barry Van Riper, and Sarah Rogers, Director of Heritage Montgomery. The settlement of Martinsburg was racially integrated, uncommon in rural Maryland, Loving Charity Hall was built in 1914 by local carpenter Scott Bell, who also built the nearby church called Warren United Methodist Church. For decades, Loving Charity Hall was associated with a self-help group known as the General Grand and Accepted Order of Brothers and Sisters of Love and Charity. They offered insurance benefits in segregated times, and their lodge hall provided a location for community events. In the 1990s, the Warren Historical Site Committee was formed and purchased this extraordinary piece of Montgomery County history. All three buildings were in dire need, and the lodge hall listed at a dangerous angle. This past decade has seen a transformation. When it was determined that Loving Charity Hall was unsalvageable, it was dismantled and in 2018 was reconstructed. Wherever possible, contractors kept original materials, such as foundation stones and the interior staircase. The stars here are Committee President Elsie Thomas, Committee Secretary Mary Ciotti, and Sarah Rogers of Heritage Montgomery. They, with others, donated hundreds of hours to document and rebuild Loving Charity Hall, so that it now showcases a preserved setting for African American culture. Warren Historical Site will continue to be used for meetings, markets, concerts, special events, and as a community center. It will maintain regular hours and will join 16 other sites on the Montgomery County Heritage Area's African American Heritage Tour program. The award is accepted by Elsie Thomas, President, and Mary Ciotti, Secretary of the Warren Historical Site Committee.
My name is Elsie Thomas. I am the president of the Warren Historical Site Committee. I am pleased to accept the Montgomery Preservation Award. We greatly appreciate all the support that we have received during the Loving Church's ongoing project. I was saddened as I watched the old hall being demolished, but I knew it would be a better hall when it was completed. I would like to thank each and every one who have helped us. Thank you for the opportunity. Elsie Thomas.
I'm Mary Ciotti. I go by Maggie Ciotti. I'm the Secretary of the Warren Historical Site. I'm truly honored to receive this award from Montgomery Preservation. I would like to thank all the committee members for their hard work. I'd especially like to thank the Director of Heritage Montgomery, Sarah Rogers, our legal advisor, Otho Thompson, our architect, Tom Tonneval, and our contractor, Barry Van Ripper, and Frederica Sneed for her photo diary of the project. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
MPI presents a 2019 award for restoration of an historic residence and compatible new construction to Carola Alvarez, owner of 3940 Washington Street, Kensington. The work was performed by Miche Bose, principal of Miche Bose Architect, Sebastian Foxley, associate, and William Herrera, contractor. The award is presented by Tracy Furman, mayor of Kensington, and accepted by Carola Alvarez and her son, Sebastian Foxley.
Hi, I'm Tracy Furman, Mayor of the Town of Kensington, and it's my privilege to present 3940 Washington Street, the MPI 2019 Award. The 1903 Alvarez House on Washington Street in Kensington is one of a kind. First, it's a rare example of a high-style, professionally designed late Victorian mansion that's based on a design selected from a catalog, and plans bought from the architect by mail order. Second, the house is incredibly well documented. The original plans, contracts, bills, and receipts have been passed down from one owner to the next. And third, the restoration we're celebrating made good use of the original records to carefully reconstruct features of the original house that were missing or damaged. Although the plans were passed down intact, the house itself was not so lucky. Age took its toll, and over the years, many of the original, elegant, decorative details that had decayed were replaced with simplistic versions or removed entirely. The original front porch was replaced by a plainer one, while balustrades, a widow's walk, finials, and other details just disappeared. Meanwhile, improper drainage from the tower roof resulted in damage to the interior. In 2018, Ms. Alvarez took on the task of reconstructing the original architectural features on both the inside and outside of the house, replacing some roofing, restoring historic windows, and repairing damaged plaster, woodwork, and mantels. New systems upgrade fit seamlessly into the historic structure. The project also included a renovated kitchen that matches the house's character and details, and the addition of compatible garage to the setting. The result has been to restore the lost luster of this Kensington gem.
We would like to thank Montgomery Preservation for this award. This house was in poor condition when we bought it, but we knew there was something special waiting to be discovered. Thanks to the original drawings, contracts, and receipts that we received from the previous owners, we were able to track down the original architect and discover his catalog of work.
When we combined that documentation with our passion for this project, Misha's expertise, and William and his team's careful craftsmanship, we were able to bring this lovely house back to life and make it our home. Thank you once more for this award. We're so very pleased to have earned it. Thank you.
MPI presents a 2019 award for preservation, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse of an historic landmark to Dalton Potter and Jim Kelly, owners of Potter Violins, Silver Spring. The award is presented by Jerry McCoy, founder of the Silver Spring Historical Society, and accepted by Dalton Potter and Jim Kelly.
It was the dream of Dalton Potter and Jim Kelly to own a building for their multifaceted business. They sought a warm and comfortable place to make, conserve, and sell stringed instruments, and to celebrate their use with lessons and recitals. The Blair Mansion Inn stood vacant on Eastern Avenue near the DC line in downtown Silver Spring, Maryland. Constructed in 1895, the building had been a single-family home, a tea house, a restaurant, and even a dinner theater. It was somewhat time-worn and in need of serious attention, but what better venue for acoustic music made from handcrafted wooden instruments than a large, historic wooden residence? Intriguing features of the building included more than a dozen square columns that surrounded the west and south facades, 5 massive granite chimneys, a graceful curved bay, a widow's walk, a rooftop belvedere, and decorative shutters on many of the original windows. Dalton Potter and Jim Kelly restored and repaired the exterior. The restored interior is faithful to the original house, and necessary modifications fit the house's character. Main floor public rooms serve as reception and retail space. The upstairs parlor is a comfortable waiting area for patrons. Bedrooms serve as display areas and instrument trial rooms, and the attic has space for staff. The old kitchen and walk-in cooler are perfectly suited to their new roles, accommodating artisans with their tools and materials. Even the 1959 curved room addition has adapted beautifully to its new purpose as a recital hall. This project is a splendid example of adaptive reuse. The house is now harmoniously suited to Potter Violins and its mission. We applaud Potter Violins for their mission of a superb, long-term fit of an historic house with their enterprise. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dalton Potter.
And I'm Jim Kelly.
And we wanted to say thank you for the Montgomery Preservation Incorporated Award for redoing this incredible building.
We consider it a huge honor. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into making this building what it is today, and we're glad that it's back to its former glory. So thank you for recognizing that effort.
MPI presents a 2019 award for special achievement to the King Barn Dairy Museum Education Program. The King Farm Dairy Museum Map Committee has worked hard to document the dairy farms and family histories of dairy farmers in Montgomery County. The award will be presented by Councilmember Evan Glass and accepted by Richard Rowe, Chairman of the Map Committee.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Evan Glass, and I am proud to announce the 2019 Award for Historic Preservation, Special Achievement to the Museum Map Committee. Montgomery County's strong heritage of dairy farming is celebrated at the King Barn Dairy Museum. This museum opened to the public in 2010 in a dairy barn at South Germantown Recreation Park. Volunteers soon began to record the history of farms and of the families who own them. The first oral histories were transcribed and filed, but were not readily available to the public. Then Carol Weeger, the daughter of a dairy farmer, agreed to chair the map committee. She suggested the committee research the history of one family and feature that family at the museum on the fourth Sunday afternoon of each month. The first honored farm was the E.L. Burdett Flag Valley Farm above Damascus. A different farm has been featured each of the 6 months that the museum is open every year. Since 2014, the history of a featured farm has been printed by Engineering Graphics, Inc. In a magazine format. And since these histories always sell out, the MAP Committee has begun editing old histories to reprint them for sale at the museum shop and to place them in local libraries. Other museum accomplishments include the Rowe photograph collection of dairy barns, a map showing the location of the 473 Montgomery County dairy farms, and research that has resulted in over 50 farm histories in several media and an additional 40 histories in preparation. New this year is the Moo-Ims, an interactive 55-inch touchscreen map that allows visitors to the museum to select touch a farm and to view its history and photographs. Very cool. The plan is to eventually allow the farm information and family histories to be accessed through the internet. So for special achievement in education, I am pleased to present this award to the King Barn Dairy Museum Map Committee. Richard Rowe is the current chair of the Map Committee, and please welcome them and congratulate them with me.
Hi, I'm Richard Rowe, chairman of the King Barn Dairy Museum Map Committee. And I am very grateful, we are very grateful as a group, that your committee has chosen us to receive this award. The members of our group, though small, are hardworking and dedicated, have for many years put a lot of energy and effort into this project. Starting with the late Carol Mills Weeger and Judy Christensen, who put together over 30 PowerPoint histories in support of the Featured Farm Program, and then Bill Duvall, who took over and has written over 50 Word documents for not only featured farms, but other farms. So now we have documented over 80 of our dairy farms, and that number continues to grow. I'd also like to put a shout out to Shelley Heron, without whose guidance and leadership the IMS would never have happened. And to Howard and Chris Williams for their tireless research in the last couple of years supporting this whole effort. Thank you.
Each year since 2009, Montgomery Preservation has presented an award for preservation advocacy in honor of Wayne Goldstein, noted civic activist, fearless advocate, and former MPI president. This year, the award is presented to Julianne Mangin for documentation and preservation of the historic pet cemetery at Aspen Hill Memorial Park. Wayne would have loved Julianne's passion for discovery, storytelling, preserving the past, and the joy of sharing it with others. Congratulations to Julianne for her love of animals and cemeteries, her tenacity, and her continuing success at Aspen Hill Memorial Park. The award is presented by Glenn Wallace, Project Coordinator for the Montgomery County Inventory Project Revisited, that started Julianne on her documentation of Aspen Hill.
Aspen Hill Memorial Park, one of the first pet cemeteries in the United States, opened in 1920 on 8 acres in Silver Spring. Over the years, more than 50,000 dogs, cats, birds, horses, and even hamsters were buried there, including J. Edgar Hoover's Airedale, Speedobago, Andy, a capuchin monkey, and Rags, mascot of the 1st Division in World War I, who risked life and limb when he crossed enemy lines to deliver a note to Allied forces. This award celebrates the work of Julianne Mangin, a writer and researcher now retired from the Library of Congress. She visited the cemetery, which is near her home, and started working with a small group to protect and preserve this landmark. She began to tap newspaper articles, photo archives, and land records to find information. By walking the cemetery, she identified 24 humans who were buried at the cemetery with their pets. She gave informal tours, including one that led John Kelly of the Washington Post to write about the project. Julianne shared her findings with the Montgomery County Humane Society, which owns the property and plans to build its headquarters on a 2-acre parcel there that contains no remains. The society opened its files to Julianne, allowing her to document additional human burials, bringing the number of known ones to more than 50. Julianne's dedication, research, and communication skills are beyond measure. Her on-site work sets the standard of excellence in cemetery archival procedures. Her efforts will help Aspen Hill Memorial Park to again become a welcoming public destination and honored burial ground in Montgomery County. Congratulations, Julianne.
I am pleased to accept the Wayne Goldstein Award for Preservation Advocacy, and I thank you for this honor. In early 2018, I became fascinated with the Aspen Hill Pet Cemetery. Through my research, I came across the Coalition to Protect Maryland Burial Sites, which then led me to the Montgomery County Cemetery Inventory Revisited. I felt fortunate to connect with these projects and learn about cemetery preservation. I would like to thank the following people for their support and encouragement: Eileen McGuckian, Glenn Wallace, Hannah-Laure Quigley, Rebecca Ballo, Brian Crane, Tina Simmons, and Dennis Green. I would also like to thank Chris Bomba of the Montgomery County Humane Society for allowing me access to the cemetery records and the grounds for my research. Thank you.
MPI presents the 2019 Montgomery County Executives Award to the Board of Directors and staff of Heritage Montgomery for enhancing the heritage area and for facilitating excellent projects throughout Montgomery County. Members of the board include Laura Anderson Wright, President, Sheila Bashiri, Vice President, Heidi Gladfelter-Schlag, Secretary, Ying Fang, Treasurer, Rebecca Ballum, Abby Cluse-Radigan, Anthony Cohen, and Allison Weiss. Heritage Montgomery staff members include Sarah L. Rogers, Executive Director, and Lori Ranney, Deputy Director. The award is presented by Mark Eldridge, Montgomery County Executive, and is accepted by Laura Wright on behalf of the Heritage Montgomery Board of Directors and staff.
Founded in 2003, Heritage Montgomery has worked to preserve and promote Montgomery County history, culture, and natural resources while fostering stewardship and pride in our communities. Over 17 years, Heritage Montgomery has built strong relationships with local heritage organizations and their leaders, many of whom have served on the Heritage Montgomery Board of Directors. Early board members knew that our county lacked a reputation for historical tourism and was rather known as a cheaper base for visiting Washington, D.C. attractions. Improvements to local sites and public promotion were the keys to changing this perception, and money was the key to making these improvements. Heritage Montgomery Board and staff focused on state economic development grants and local mini-grants. Many hours were spent working with applicants to strengthen their chances to win grants and to improve their facilities, presentations, and media to attract the public. Everyone knew both locals and visitors wanted quality activities and experiences in their own backyards. Heritage Montgomery succeeded in significantly raising the numbers and amounts of state grants while increasing grant eligibility to more locations in Montgomery County. This year, all of Heritage Montgomery's FY20 state grants were fully funded, resulting in $1.6 million with a match. Also, projects enriching communities in Montgomery County. All 12 Heritage Montgomery County mini-grants were funded as well. The county executive is particularly proud that Heritage Montgomery's board of directors and its staff have tirelessly supported local organizations since its inception. They bring their passion for history, cultural heritage, education, and people to their work with Heritage Montgomery, as well as to their important work to preserve the local community history.
Thank you so much, County Executive Eldridge. It is truly an honor to receive the 2019 County Executives Award on behalf of the Heritage Montgomery County staff and its board of directors. My name is Laura Anderson Wright, and though I currently serve as president of Heritage Montgomery's board of directors, I humbly accept this recognition on behalf of the entire Heritage Montgomery family. This family, brought together in 2003, had a clear and specific vision to preserve and promote Montgomery County's rich history, culture, and natural resources. However, doing so takes both time and money. And Heritage Montgomery has tirelessly worked to leverage state and county resources to allow the county's diverse organizations to flourish. Recognizing that celebrating the county's heritage also serves as fuel for the county's economic engine, Heritage Montgomery has been a silent partner behind many county gems, whether it be the C&O Canal, Poolsville and Seneca to the west, Sandy Spring, Tacoma Park, and Colesville to the east, or the county seat of Rockville tucked right in the middle. Heritage Montgomery serves them all. Finally, I want to take a moment to specially acknowledge the real engines behind Heritage Montgomery, the late Peggy Erickson, Sarah Rogers, and Lori Ranney, who for 17 years and counting have built a solid foundation and built upon it a strong, dynamic organization that is responsive to the needs of its constituents. We are indebted to them for their efforts, for the county and the state. Again, a sincere thanks, and be well.
MPI presents the 2019 Montgomery Prize to Royce Hanson for outstanding leadership to further the aims of historic preservation in Montgomery County. The award is presented by Casey Anderson, Chairman of the Montgomery County Planning Board, and accepted by Royce Hanson.
Royce Hanson is widely recognized as the father of the Agricultural Reserve. What's less well known is his equally groundbreaking, successful patrimony of the Historic Preservation Program in Montgomery County. It's this leadership for which he's being honored today. Throughout the 1970s, Dr. Hanson led the Planning Board to identify and protect historic resources. He enlisted 2 young historians to conduct a survey of historic places, which resulted in the 1976 publication of the Locational Atlas of Historic Sites. The following year, the Planning Board appointed an advisory committee on historic sites charged with developing a master plan and drafting a county ordinance. The Master Plan for Historic Preservation, approved in 1979, set up a rational system for evaluating, protecting, and enhancing Montgomery County's heritage. It focused on integrating the protection of important historic resources into the planning process. It was the idea whose time had finally come. Royce continued to nurture this initiative in his last 2 years at the Planning Board, recommending the first members of the HPC, assigning specific staff to assist it, and watching it all play out. In 2006, Royce returned to help reset the Planning Board. He remained a champion of the work of the HPC and continued to make strong connections between rural areas, agricultural interests, and historic preservation, believing that the Park and Planning Commission must be the trustee for the future. Royce Hanson certainly understands the big picture. Over a lifetime career of land use planning, he initiated, led, taught, encouraged, cajoled, and guided the inclusion of preservation as a goal in every aspect of planning. For furthering the aims of historic preservation in Montgomery County with outstanding effort and achievement, Royce Hanson has earned the Montgomery Prize.
In accepting this award, I feel a little bit like the chicken that was in the barnyard with its friend the pig when a truck passed by with a sign on its side that read, "Ham and eggs, a great American tradition." "Isn't it wonderful," said the chicken, "to have made a contribution to such a grand thing?" "For you," the pig said, "it's a contribution. For me, it's a full commitment." My contribution to historic preservation, such as it was to help get it started by writing an ordinance and setting up a process that might have saved some sites and some districts by balancing the public interest in the historical and cultural significance of sites with the property interests of their owners and neighbors, and in persuading the council that it was worth taking a chance on it. It took those, however, with a full commitment to make it work. Preeminently among those was Mike Dwyer, who undertook the task of driving around the county and identifying 1,000 sites that had some potential for preservation. Fritz Gutheim and those that worked with him in the research that was done for Sugarloaf Trails showed that there were still a number of very significant sites extant within the county. And my colleague, George Kephart, whose family lived in one of the most historic homes in Montgomery County, was a constant source of inspiration, guidance, and determination that we get it done. And of course, since then, the many people who have served on the Historic Sites Commission, and particularly all of the passionate citizen historians whose research in documenting sites and districts made it possible for them to be placed, in many cases, on the National Historic Register and on the Master Plan of Historic Sites, and ultimately to receive the support of the County Council for their preservation. So, thank you for recognizing my small contribution to helping others protect a common heritage in a place that otherwise might have undergone changes that were so rapid that all evidence of the past might have been obliterated. I accept in the name of those whose full commitment has made historic preservation a living thing in Montgomery County. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching our film featuring the 2019 Awards for Historic Preservation in Montgomery County. MPI hopes next year to be able to confer the 2020 awards in person at a grand celebration. We'll see you then.